The space station hung like a silver ring against the black sky. Ships from two great powers gathered around it. Some were human ships, small and gray. Others were Velaran ships, large and beautiful with golden hulls. Today would change history. Today, a human would marry a Valoran princess. Yuna stood in her dressing chamber and looked at herself in the mirror. Her silver hair fell past her shoulders. Her purple eyes showed no emotion. She wore a white dress made from the finest silk of her home world. She looked beautiful. She felt nothing. She was the third daughter of the High Emperor of the Valoran Empire. Her people ruled over 40 worlds. They had traveled the stars for 10,000 years. They were ancient. They were powerful. They were proud. And today, she would marry a human. Her handmaiden, a young Valoran woman named Bora, adjusted her dress. "The ceremony begins in 1 hour, princess." "I know," Yuna said. Her voice was cold. "Have you seen him, the human?" Bora asked. "I have seen a picture. He looks ordinary." Bora made a small sound of disgust. "I cannot believe the Emperor agreed to this, marrying you to one of them." Yuna turned away from the mirror. "The treaty requires it. Our empire needs peace on the border. The humans are weak, but they are many. War with them would cost us too much." "Still," Bora said, "you deserve better than a primitive." Yuna said nothing. She agreed, but she would not say it out loud. A princess did her duty. That was all. In another part of the station, the human prepared for his wedding. Dowan sat alone in a small room. He wore a simple black uniform with silver buttons. His dark hair was neat. His face was calm. He was 32 years old, a captain in the Terran Defense Fleet. He was not handsome, but he was not ugly. He was simply ordinary. The door opened. His commanding officer, Admiral Park, stepped inside. The old man looked at Dowan with something like pity. "Are you ready?" the admiral asked. "Yes, sir. You know what this marriage means. You will live among them. You will represent all of humanity. Every mistake you make will be used against us." "I understand." Admiral Park studied the young captain. "I chose you for this because you are patient. You are calm. You do not get angry easily. You will need all of that patience, Dowan. The Valorans think we are animals. They will treat you like one." Dowan nodded slowly. "I know what they think of us. And still you agreed? Someone had to. If this marriage can prevent war, then my pride does not matter." The admiral was quiet for a long moment. Then he placed a hand on Dowan's shoulder. "You are a good man. I hope she sees that someday." The ceremony took place in the great hall of the station. Thousands watched. Valoran nobles stood on one side, their tall bodies wrapped in colorful robes. Human diplomats stood on the other side, looking small and plain in comparison. Yuna walked down the aisle. She moved like water, graceful and smooth. Every eye watched her. She was the most beautiful woman in the room. At the end of the aisle stood Dowan. He watched her approach. His face showed nothing. When she reached him, she finally looked at his face. His eyes were dark brown, warm and deep. For a moment, something flickered in them. Hope, perhaps, or sadness. She could not tell. She looked away. The ceremony was short. Words were spoken in both languages. Hands were joined. Rings were exchanged. When it was over, they were husband and wife. There was no kiss. The reception lasted 3 hours. Yuna stood beside Dowan and accepted congratulations from people who did not mean them. Valoran nobles whispered behind their hands. Human diplomats smiled nervously. Not once did Yuna speak to her new husband. That night, they boarded the ship that would be their new home. The TDS Harmony was a diplomatic vessel designed for peace missions. It was not large, but it was comfortable. Their quarters had 2 bedrooms, a shared living space, and a small kitchen. Yuna walked through the rooms without expression. "This is acceptable," she said. It was the first thing she had said to Dowan directly. "I am glad," he replied. She looked at him. "Let us be clear about this arrangement. We are married by law. But that is all. You will not touch me. You will not enter my room without permission. We will appear together when duty requires it. Otherwise, we will live separate lives. Do-won nodded. I understand. Good. She turned and walked into her bedroom. The door closed behind her. Do-won stood alone in the living space for a long time. Then he walked to the observation deck. The stars spread out before him like scattered diamonds. He stood at the window and watched them in silence. The ship began to move, carrying them toward their new life. In her room, Yuna sat on her bed. She thought about the years ahead. Years of pretending. Years of living with a stranger. Years of smiling for politicians, while her heart felt empty. This was her duty. She would do it. But she would never love him. The days passed slowly on the Harmony. Yuna spent her time reading, exercising, and speaking with her attendants through video calls. She rarely left her room. Do-won spent his days working. He reviewed reports, attended meetings, and managed the small crew. He was polite to everyone. He never complained. Every night, he went to the observation deck. Yuna noticed this pattern after the first week. She found it strange. What did he see in those stars? What did he think about, standing there alone in the dark? One night, her curiosity won. She walked quietly to the observation deck and watched him from the doorway. He stood perfectly still, his hands clasped behind his back. The starlight painted his face in soft silver. He looked peaceful, almost sad. Can't you sleep? He asked without turning around. She was surprised. She had made no sound. How did you know I was here? I heard you walking. She stepped into the room. Your hearing is good. It is adequate. She stood beside him and looked at the stars. They were beautiful, she admitted to herself. Cold and distant, but beautiful. Why do you come here every night? She asked. He was quiet for a moment. The stars remind me of home. Of Earth. We have different stars there. But the feeling is the same. What feeling? That we are small. That the universe is vast. That our problems, our pride, our anger, they do not matter much when you look at all of this. Yuna frowned. She had not expected such words from a human. Before she could respond, an alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed. A voice came over the speakers. Distress signal received. Human colony New Busan under attack. All senior officers to the bridge. Do-won turned immediately. The peaceful look on his face was gone. In its place was something harder, sharper. Excuse me, he said. I must go. Yuna watched him leave. She had never seen him move so quickly. On the bridge, she found him giving orders. His voice was different now. It was strong and clear. The voice of a man who expected to be obeyed. How many ships do we have? He asked. 3 escort vessels, sir. That's all. And the attackers? Unknown. The signal was cut off. Do-won nodded. Set course for New Busan. Maximum speed. The communications officer hesitated. Sir, shouldn't we call for backup first? There's no time. Those are our people. We move now. He turned and saw Yuna standing at the door. Princess. By treaty, you must accompany me on all official missions. This may be dangerous. You should prepare yourself. She lifted her chin. I am not afraid. Something like respect flickered in his eyes. Then it was gone. All hands, he said, his voice carrying across the ship. Battle stations. The Harmony jumped to faster than light speed, racing toward danger. And for the first time, Yuna wondered if she had been wrong about her husband. The colony of New Busan burned beneath them. Yuna stood on the bridge and watched the view screen. Smoke rose from the small city. Ships circled overhead like hungry birds. They were pirate vessels, ugly and patched together from stolen parts. There were 9 of them. The Harmony and its 3 escort ships dropped out of faster than light speed at the edge of the system. They were outnumbered 3-1. Any sensible commander would call for backup and wait. Do-won did not wait. All ships, form up on my position, he said into the communicator. His voice was calm, almost casual. Escort 1. Take the left flank. Escort 2. The right. Escort 3. Stay behind us and protect our rear. The captains responded immediately. There was no argument, no hesitation. They simply obeyed. Yuna watched her husband with new eyes. This was not the quiet man who stood alone watching stars. This was someone else entirely. Sir, the sensor officer said. The pirates are breaking formation. They're coming straight at us. Good. Let them come. Do-Wan leaned forward in his command chair. Helm, take us into that asteroid field on the left. The helmsman blinked. Sir? The asteroids will limit our movement. It will limit theirs too. They have more ships, but they're not trained fighters. They'll get in each other's way. We won't. The Harmony dove into the asteroid field. Massive rocks tumbled through space around them. The escort ships followed close behind. The pirates came after them, eager for blood. What followed was a lesson in tactics. Do-Wan used the asteroids like weapons. He led the pirates through narrow gaps where only one ship could pass at a time. He ordered his gunners to target the rocks themselves, sending deadly fragments spinning into enemy hulls. When two pirate ships tried to flank them, he reversed course so suddenly that the pirates crashed into each other. 3 pirate ships were destroyed in the first 10 minutes. Not by weapons fire, but by their own confusion. Yuna gripped the railing as the ship shook from a near miss. She had seen Valoran admirals command fleets of hundreds. She had studied military history for years. She had never seen anything like this. Do-Wan moved pieces on a board that only he could see. He seemed to know what the pirates would do before they did it. Every order came at exactly the right moment. Every decision was perfect. 2 more ships down, the sensor officer reported. 4 remaining. They're retreating toward the colony, Do-Wan said. They'll try to use the civilians as shields. We won't let them. He opened a channel to all ships. Escort 1 and 2. Engage the retreating ships. Disable them. Don't destroy them. We need prisoners. Escort 3. Maintain position. Harmony will handle the ground situation. Ground situation, sir? The first officer asked. The pirates have troops in the city. Our people are trapped down there. I'm leading a rescue team. The bridge went quiet. Sir, the first officer said carefully, you're the commanding officer. You can't just, I can and I will. Lieutenant Kang, you have the bridge. Do-Wan stood and turned toward the door. Then he stopped, looking at Yuna. Princess, you should stay on the ship. It will be safer. Yuna straightened her spine. I am a daughter of the Valoran Empire. I do not hide while others fight. For a long moment, Do-Wan studied her face. Then he nodded once. Can you use a weapon? I was trained in combat since I was 6 years old. Good. Come with me. The shuttle dropped through the atmosphere like a falling stone. Inside were 12 human marines in heavy combat armor, and 1 Valoran princess in borrowed tactical gear. Do-Wan sat near the door, checking his rifle. Yuna watched the marines. They were tense but not afraid. Their eyes kept moving to Do-Wan, and she realized something. They trusted him completely. They would follow him anywhere. Landing in 30 seconds, the pilot announced. Hot zone. Enemy troops confirmed in the area. Do-Wan stood. Remember the mission. We're here to save civilians. Don't take unnecessary risks. But don't leave anyone behind. If you see a human in danger, you help them. Questions? There were none. The shuttle hit the ground hard. The doors flew open. They ran out into chaos. The city was a war zone. Buildings burned. Gunfire echoed from every direction. Bodies lay in the streets, some pirate, some civilian. Yuna felt her stomach turn, but she kept moving. A group of pirates appeared around a corner, firing wildly. The Marines dropped to cover and returned fire. Do-Wan did not take cover. He walked forward, rifle raised, and fired 3 times. 3 pirates fell dead. The others turned to run. Do-Wan shot them in the back without hesitation. Yuna stared. He had moved so fast. His aim had been so perfect. Every bullet had found its target. Keep moving, Do-Wan ordered. The main group of civilians is in the community center. 3 blocks north. They fought their way through the streets. Yuna stayed close to Do-won, watching and learning. He was not fighting like a normal soldier. He was too fast, too precise. He seemed to know where enemies would appear before they did. Twice, he shouted warnings that saved her life. She never saw the threats coming. He always did. They found the community center surrounded by 30 pirates. The building was full of families, children, elderly people. The pirates were trying to break down the doors. "We're outnumbered," one of the Marines said. "So?" Do-won handed his rifle to the Marine beside him. "Give me 1 minute. Then move in." Before anyone could object, he was gone. Yuna watched him sprint toward the enemy. Alone. Unarmed except for a knife. What she saw next would stay with her forever. Do-won moved through the pirates like a ghost. He did not fight them. He destroyed them. The knife in his hand became a silver blur. Bodies fell before they could scream. He broke necks, shattered bones, and opened throats with movements so fluid they looked like dancing. 12 pirates died in the first 20 seconds. The survivors finally realized what was happening. They turned their guns toward him, firing desperately. Do-won was not there. He had already moved, sliding between them like water, killing as he went. A pirate grabbed a child from the crowd and held a gun to her head. "Stop!" he screamed. "Stop or I'll kill her." Do-won stopped. He stood perfectly still, 15 meters away. "Drop the knife!" the pirate shouted. His hand was shaking. Do-won's arm moved. Yuna did not see him throw. She only saw the knife appear in the pirate's eye socket. The man fell dead before he could pull the trigger. The child ran to her mother, crying. The last 3 pirates dropped their weapons and surrendered. 52 seconds. 30 enemies. 1 man. The Marines moved in, securing prisoners and checking the civilians. Yuna walked slowly toward Do-won. Her legs unsteady. He was cleaning his knife on a dead man's shirt. His breathing was normal. There was not a scratch on him. "Who are you?" she whispered. He looked up at her. His brown eyes were calm, almost sad. "I am your husband." "That is all." "That is not all. No ordinary man could do what you just did." Do-won stood and sheathed his knife. "We should help the wounded. There will be time for questions later." He walked past her toward the crying children and frightened families. She watched him kneel beside an injured old woman, his voice soft and gentle as he checked her wounds. The monster who had killed 30 men without effort was now comforting an old grandmother. Nothing made sense anymore. Later, back on the ship, the reports came in. The battle was won. All 9 pirate ships were destroyed or captured. 400 civilians were saved. Human casualties were minimal. The crew celebrated. They called Do-won a hero. He did not celebrate. He sat in the medical bay, visiting every wounded Marine personally. He knew their names. He knew their families. He told one soldier that his wife had just had a baby. He promised another that he would write to his mother. Yuna watched from the doorway, invisible. When the last patient was asleep, Do-won finally walked out. He found her waiting. "You have questions," he said. "Many." He nodded. "Come. We should talk privately." In his quarters, he sat down heavily. For the first time, he looked tired. "You are not a normal captain," Yuna said. "Your fighting skills are beyond anything I have ever seen. And your tactical mind, Valoran admirals with centuries of experience could not do what you did today." Do-won was quiet for a long moment. "I have spent many years learning to be invisible," he finally said. "To be ordinary. To be the man everyone overlooks. It is easier that way. People expect less. They fear less. But why?" He looked at her, and for the first time, she saw something real in his eyes. Pain, old pain. "Because when people see what I can do, they stop seeing me as a person. They see a weapon, a monster. I did not want that. I wanted peace. I wanted a normal life." He smiled sadly. "I wanted a wife who might actually love me someday." Yuna did not know what to say. "No one asked about my past," Do-won continued. "No one asked what I could do. So I never told them. I just wanted to be useful in small ways. Quiet ways. I never wanted to fight again. Again? You fought before? There was a war. Before the treaty. Before any of this. I did terrible things to protect my people. Things I cannot forget. He looked at his hands. These hands have taken more lives than I can count. I am tired of killing, but when innocent people are in danger, I cannot stand by. I cannot be the ordinary man I pretend to be. Yuna sat down across from him. She thought about the man she had dismissed as weak and boring. She thought about the warrior who had killed 30 men to save strangers. Why did you agree to marry me? She asked softly. The real reason. Do-won met her eyes. Because I hoped this marriage could prevent another war. Because I hoped that if we learned to understand each other, our peoples might too. He paused. And because when I saw your picture, I thought you were the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. I hoped that someday, you might see me as something more than a duty. She had no response to that. Later that night, as she lay in her bed, Yuna thought about everything she had seen. Her husband was not what she had believed. He was so much more, and for the first time, she felt something other than cold duty toward him. She did not know what to call it yet, but it felt like the beginning of something. 3 days later, the intelligence team finished analyzing the pirate data cores. What they found changed everything. The pirates had not attacked randomly. They had been paid. The credits had been transferred from a hidden account on a Valoran banking world. Someone in the Valoran Empire had funded this attack. Someone wanted the peace treaty to fail. And when Do-won showed her the evidence, Yuna felt her blood turn cold. She recognized the banking codes. They belonged to her brother. The Valoran capital world of Ashenvale was beautiful beyond words. Its cities floated on clouds of anti-gravity generators. Its towers reached toward the purple sky like silver fingers. Gardens hung in the air, filled with flowers that glowed in the eternal twilight. Yuna had grown up here. She had loved these streets, these gardens, these beautiful floating palaces. Now, returning as a married woman, she saw her home world with different eyes. She saw the guards who looked at Do-won with disgust. She heard the whispers of nobles who called her marriage a tragedy. She noticed how servants turned away when her human husband walked past. For the first time in her life, she felt ashamed of her own people. The imperial palace stood at the center of the capital city. It was a massive structure of white stone and golden metal, older than human civilization itself. Yuna and Do-won walked through its great doors together, flanked by ceremonial guards. Her father, the High Emperor, waited on his throne. He was ancient, even by Valoran standards. His silver hair fell to his waist. His purple eyes had faded to pale lavender. But his mind was still sharp, and his power was absolute. "Daughter," he said, his voice echoed through the throne room. "You have returned, and you bring evidence of conspiracy." "Yes, father." Yuna stepped forward and bowed. Behind her, Do-won bowed as well, deeper than required. The attack on the human colony was not random piracy. It was funded by someone within our own empire. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Show me." Yuna presented the data crystals. Technicians examined them, projected the information for all to see. Banking records, communication logs, transfer orders. The evidence was clear. But then a voice spoke from the side of the room. "This is obviously fake." Yuna's brother Taewon stepped out of the shadows. He was tall and beautiful, with sharp features and cold eyes. He was the firstborn son, the heir to the throne, and the most dangerous man in the empire. "Sister," he said, smiling without warmth. "You have been away from home too long. Living with that human has damaged your judgment." "The evidence speaks for itself," Yuna said, keeping her voice steady. "The evidence was provided by humans." Taewon walked toward her slowly. They could have created these records, planted them in the pirate systems, made it look like someone in our empire was responsible. He turned to the assembled nobles. "Think about it. The humans want to break the treaty. They want war. What better way than to make us suspect each other?" Murmurs spread through the room. The nobles nodded, accepting his words. Yuna felt sick. That is not what happened. I was there. I saw. You saw what your human husband wanted you to see. Taewon stopped in front of Do-won. He was taller than the human by almost a head. He looked down with open contempt. Tell me, Captain. How does it feel to trick a princess? Do-won's face remained calm. I have not tricked anyone, Prince Taewon. The evidence is genuine. The evidence is garbage. Taewon leaned closer. You are garbage. Your species crawled out of the mud only 1,000 years ago. You breed like insects and spread like disease. The only reason you still exist is because we allowed it. The room fell silent. Even for Valoran politics, this was extreme. Do-won said nothing. His expression did not change. Yuna stepped between them. Brother. Enough. This is a matter of imperial security, not personal insults. Personal? Taewon laughed. There is nothing personal about it. I simply speak the truth that everyone thinks. He turned to the Emperor. Father, I recommend we dismiss this evidence and investigate how the humans planted it in our systems. We should also reconsider the treaty. Clearly, humanity cannot be trusted. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Then he raised his hand. The evidence will be examined by our own investigators. Until they report, this matter is closed. Everyone is dismissed. It was neither a victory nor a defeat. It was delay. And delay, Yuna knew, was exactly what Taewon wanted. That night, the imperial family held a formal banquet. Hundreds of nobles attended. Yuna sat at the high table beside Do-won, forced to smile and make polite conversation with people who despised her husband. Taewon made his move during the third course. He stood, raised his glass, and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. A toast, he said, to my beloved sister, who has sacrificed so much for our empire. Marrying a human must be like living with a trained animal. You feed it. You walk it. You hope it doesn't bite. Laughter rippled through the room. Tell me, sister, does he do tricks? Does he fetch? Does he roll over on command? The laughter grew louder. Yuna's hands clenched under the table. She looked at Do-won. He sat perfectly still, his eyes forward, his face empty. Brother, she said, her voice cutting through the laughter, your jokes grow tiresome. They are not jokes. They are observations. Taewon walked toward their table, glass in hand. Look at him. Look at this creature we have welcomed into our family. No breeding. No history. No culture worth mentioning. His ancestors were painting on cave walls, while ours were conquering star systems. He stopped in front of Do-won. Tell me, human, do you feel embarrassed? Sitting at a table with your betters? Pretending to be one of us? He poured his wine slowly onto Do-won's head. The purple liquid ran down his face, staining his white shirt. Or are you too stupid to know the difference? The room went silent. Do-won did not move. He did not wipe his face. He simply sat there, wine dripping from his chin, and looked at Taewon with those calm brown eyes. I feel nothing but gratitude, Do-won said quietly, for the opportunity to serve peace between our peoples. Even if that service requires patience. Taewon's smile faltered. He had expected anger, fear, something he could use. Instead, he got nothing. You really are an animal, he muttered. You don't even know when you've been insulted. He returned to his seat. The laughter resumed, weaker this time. Under the table, Yuna reached out and took Do-won's hand. His fingers closed around hers. She felt him squeeze once, gently. That small touch said everything. Later, Yuna found Taewon alone in a private garden. She had practiced this conversation in her mind. But now that the moment had come, she felt only cold fury. Why? She demanded. Why do you hate him so much? Taewon turned slowly. His handsome face was calm, almost bored. I don't hate him. I hate what he represents. Peace? Weakness. He walked toward her. The treaty was a mistake. Every year, the humans grow stronger. They spread across space like a plague. In 50 years, they will outnumber us. In 100, they will surpass us. You don't know that. I know mathematics. His eyes hardened. We should have crushed them when we had the chance. Instead, our father signed a treaty and sold his daughter to an animal. The treaty saved millions of lives, for now. But war is coming, sister. It's inevitable. And when it comes, I will make sure we win. He stepped closer. The attack on New Busan was just the beginning. There will be more incidents, more violence. Eventually, even our weak father will have to act. Yuna felt ice in her stomach. You funded those pirates. The evidence was real. Of course it was. Taewon smiled. But evidence means nothing if no one believes it. And no one will believe the word of a human over the heir to the throne. You're insane. I'm practical. He grabbed her arm suddenly. Listen to me, sister. You can still come back from this. Annul the marriage. Return to your family. When the war comes, be on the winning side. Yuna pulled her arm free. The winning side is the side that doesn't start wars over fear and hatred. Okay. 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 Taewon's face turned ugly. Then, you're a fool. And fools die with the people they defend. She left him there in the garden, her heart pounding. That night, she told Do-won everything. He listened in silence, his face unreadable. When she finished, he nodded slowly. I suspected something like this. Your brother is not subtle in his hatred. We have to warn someone, the humans at least. They need to know war is coming. Yes. But first, we need to survive the night. She looked at him sharply. What do you mean? Your brother knows you now have proof of his conspiracy. You heard him admit everything. He cannot let you leave this planet alive. As if on cue, the lights went out. In the darkness, Yuna heard soft footsteps. Many of them. Coming from all directions. Stay behind me. Do-won said. His voice was calm. Terrifyingly calm. Who is attacking us? Shadowblades. The Empire's elite assassins. Your brother must be desperate to use them openly. The door exploded inward. What followed was a nightmare of violence. 7 assassins burst into the room, moving faster than Yuna's eyes could follow. They wore black suits that seemed to drink the shadows. Their blades gleamed with purple light. Do-won moved faster. He caught the first assassin's blade with his bare hand, twisted, and broke the man's neck in one motion. The second assassin died before he hit the ground. Do-won's palm strike crushing his windpipe. The third and fourth came together. Do-won stepped between them, grabbed their heads, and slammed them together hard enough to crack their skulls. Yuna watched in horror and wonder. She had heard stories of the Shadowblades. They were legends. The most feared killers in the Empire. They had never failed a mission. They were dying like children against a storm. The fifth assassin came at Yuna. She raised her hands, ready to fight, but Do-won was already there. He blocked the blade with his forearm, ignoring the cut, and drove his elbow into the assassin's temple. The man dropped like a stone. 6, 7, 90 seconds, all dead. Do-won stood in the center of the room, breathing heavily. Blood ran from a dozen cuts on his arms and chest. But he ignored them. We need to move, he said. There will be more. Do-won. Yuna's voice shook. What are you? What are? He looked at her. And for the first time, she saw vulnerability in his eyes. I was part of a program, he said. Project Titan. Humanity's attempt to create soldiers who could match any species in the galaxy. They enhanced us. Changed us. Made us into weapons. He looked at his bloody hands. I left because I wanted to be more than a weapon. I wanted peace. But tonight, peace is not an option. Why did you never tell me? Because I wanted you to see me as a man, not a monster. She stepped toward him and took his hands. The blood did not matter. Nothing mattered except the truth she saw in his eyes. "I see a man," she said. "I see my husband. And right now, I need him to get us off this planet alive." Doan squeezed her hands. Something soft entered his hard expression. "Then stay close. I will not let anyone hurt you." They ran through the palace together, fighting their way toward the landing bay. More assassins came. More assassins died. Doan was unstoppable. A force of nature in human form. Finally, they reached their shuttle. As the door closed behind them and the engines roared to life, Yuna looked back at her homeworld one last time. She was leaving everything she knew, her family, her position, her entire life. But sitting beside her was a man worth following anywhere. The shuttle broke through the atmosphere. Behind them, the Valoran capital shrank to a point of light. And ahead of them, war was coming. Earth, the birthplace of humanity, a small blue marble spinning in the darkness of space. From orbit, it looked fragile. Weak. A tiny planet that could be crushed by any of the great powers of the galaxy. The Valoran fleet that gathered at the edge of the solar system contained 3,000 warships. Each one was larger and more powerful than anything humans had ever built. This should have been the end of humanity. Admiral Doan stood on the bridge of the TDS Defiance, flagship of the Terran Defense Fleet. Around him, officers worked at their stations, preparing for battle. Their faces were grim, but not afraid. Yuna stood beside him. She had not left his side since their escape from the Valoran capital. She had formally renounced her titles, her inheritance, her family name. She was no longer Princess Yuna of the Valoran Empire. She was simply Yuna, wife of Doan, human by choice. "Enemy fleet will enter weapons range in 15 minutes, the sensor officer reported. "How many ships do we have?" Yuna asked quietly. 32, Doan replied. "Plus orbital defense platforms and ground-based weapons. 32 against 3,000. Yuna felt her stomach turn. "Is there any chance?" Doan looked at her, and she was surprised to see him smile. "There is always a chance." A communication signal flashed on the main screen. Doan nodded, and the face of Prince Taewon appeared before them. "Admiral Doan," Taewon said, his voice dripping with contempt. "I wanted to see your face before you die." "And my dear sister, how does it feel to have betrayed your own people?" "I did not betray anyone," Yuna said coldly. "I stood against a murderer who starts wars for pride." Taewon laughed. "History is written by winners, sister. And today, we will erase your precious humans from existence." "You have not won yet," Doan said calmly. "Please. 30 ships against 3,000? Your species will be extinct by sunset. Perhaps. But first, I have a message for your fleet." Doan pressed a button. His voice broadcast across all channels, reaching every Valoran ship. "Attention Valoran fleet. This is Admiral Doan, of the Terran Defense Force. Before this battle begins, I want to share something with you." He played a recording. Taewon's voice filled the bridge. The same words he had spoken in the garden to Yuna. His confession. His plans. His conspiracy to start a war through staged attacks. Across the Valoran fleet, there was chaos. 40 ships broke formation and jumped away. Their captains wanted no part of a war built on lies. 20 more hesitated. Uncertain. By the time Taewon regained control, his perfect formation was broken. "It changes nothing," Taewon snarled. "We still have thousands. You have nothing." "We have something you don't understand," Doan said quietly. "We have home to protect." He ended the transmission and turned to his crew. "All ships, begin Operation Sunrise." The human fleet moved, but they did not charge at the enemy. Instead, they scattered. Each ship racing toward a different position in the solar system. Taewon laughed. "They're running. The humans are running." But Yuna watched her husband's face. He was not afraid. He was waiting. Then the solar system came alive. Hidden weapons platforms powered up across the asteroid belt. Thousands of them. Concealed for generations. Disguised as rocks and debris. They had been built slowly. Secretly. Over 200 years. No enemy had ever seen them. Defense satellites around Earth dropped their disguises. What looked like communications arrays and space stations transformed into massive gun platforms. The moon itself revealed hidden bases, their weapons aimed at the approaching fleet. And from Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune, ships emerged. Hundreds of them. Human ships that had been hiding in the clouds of the gas giants, waiting for this moment. The human fleet was not 32 ships. It was over 400. What? Taewan's face went pale on the screen. This is impossible, our spies reported. Your spies saw what we wanted them to see, Doan replied calmly. We have been preparing for this day since first contact with your empire. We never wanted war. But we always knew it might come. You tricked us. No, we survived. That is what humans do. The Battle of Seoul began. Human ships were smaller than Valoran vessels, but they were faster and more agile. They fought in swarms, coordinating their attacks through quantum-linked computers. When Valoran ships targeted one, a dozen would strike from different angles. The asteroid belt became a killing field. Valoran dreadnoughts tried to push through, but hidden platforms hit them from every direction. The careful formation that had terrified the galaxy broke into chaos. Doan commanded from the center of the storm. His orders came faster than anyone could follow. But somehow, every captain understood. Every ship moved exactly where it needed to be. It was as if Doan could see the entire battle at once, see the future itself. Yuna watched in wonder. She provided what help she could, using her knowledge of Valoran tactics to predict enemy movements. But she knew that the real difference was her husband. He was fighting 3,000 ships with his mind, and he was winning. Hours passed. The Valoran fleet was cut in half. Their advance had stopped. Their formation was shattered. But Taewan would not accept defeat. All ships, his voice screamed across the fleet. Ignore the enemy. Target Earth directly. If we can't beat them, we'll destroy their homeworld. 300 Valoran ships broke away from the main battle. They raced toward Earth at maximum speed, weapons charged. They're going to bomb the planet, the sensor officer said, his voice shaking. We can't stop them all. Yuna felt fear grip her heart. Earth had 8 billion people. Cities, families, children. If those ships got through, activate ground defense grid, Doan ordered. On Earth, something extraordinary happened. In every city, every country, every nation, hidden systems came online. Ordinary buildings revealed weapon ports. Power plants redirected energy to planetary shields. Millions of defensive drones launched from hidden silos. Earth itself became a fortress. The first wave of Valoran bombers met a wall of fire. Hundreds of missiles, thousands of energy beams, millions of drone fighters rose to meet them. The sky burned with explosions, but some ships got through. A Valoran cruiser broke through the defense screen and dove toward a major city. Its weapons charged, ready to kill millions. A single human fighter intercepted it. The pilot rammed his ship directly into the cruiser's engine, destroying both vessels. He had no chance of survival. He did it anyway. More ships broke through. More human pilots sacrificed themselves to stop them. Each one knew they would die. Each one flew anyway. Yuna watched the displays, tears streaming down her face. She had called humans weak, primitive, inferior. Now she watched them throw their lives away to protect their families, their planet, their species. This was not weakness. This was love. The kind of love that made ordinary people become heroes. The bombing run failed. Earth survived. But the battle was not over. Taewan's flagship, the massive dreadnought Pride of Ashenvale, broke from the remaining fleet. It accelerated toward Earth at impossible speed. Its massive weapons charging. He's going to ram the planet, the sensor officer said in horror. At that speed, with that mass, the impact would crack the continental plates. It would be an extinction event. Can our ship stop him? Yuna asked desperately. We're too far away. None of our ships can intercept in time. Doan was silent for a long moment. Then he stood. Lieutenant Kang, you have command of the fleet. Finish the battle. Sir? The lieutenant looked confused. I'm taking a fighter. Understanding dawned on Yuna's face. No. Do-wan. No. You can't. He turned to her. His eyes were calm, sad, and full of love. Someone has to stop him. I'm the only one fast enough. You'll die. Perhaps. He reached out and touched her face gently. But you will live. Earth will live. That's all that matters. She grabbed his hand. I didn't marry you to watch you die. I didn't fall in love with you to lose you. You can't do this. He smiled. The first real smile she had ever seen from him. You love me? She realized what she had said. The truth she had been hiding. Even from herself. Yes. I love you. Please don't go. He kissed her forehead softly. Then live for both of us. And remember me. Before she could stop him, he was gone. The fighter launched from the Defiance like a streak of light. It was the fastest ship in the human fleet, designed for one pilot, capable of speeds no ordinary human could survive. Do-wan was not an ordinary human. Yuna watched on the view screen as his tiny ship raced toward the massive dreadnought. He looked like a mosquito attacking an elephant. It was impossible. It was suicide. Do-wan, she whispered. Please. His voice came through the communicator, calm and steady. Yuna. Whatever happens, know that meeting you was the best thing that ever happened to me. I married you, hoping for peace. I found something better. I found home. His fighter reached the dreadnought. Instead of firing at it, he flew directly into one of the engine exhausts. The tiny ship disappeared inside the massive vessel. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the Pride of Ashenvale exploded. The dreadnought came apart from the inside. Reactor breaches spread through the vessel, each one triggering the next. The great ship that had been meant to destroy Earth became an expanding ball of fire. There was no way anyone could have survived inside. The bridge of the Defiance was silent. Yuna fell to her knees, staring at the view screen. Where Taewan's flagship had been, there was now only debris. And somewhere in that debris was the man she loved. Yuna, Lieutenant Kang said softly. I'm so sorry. She couldn't speak. She couldn't breathe. The universe had become empty and cold. Then, the sensor officer made a strange sound. Ma'am, I'm reading a life pod. Yuna's head snapped up. What? One life pod, ejecting from the debris field. Human life signs. One heartbeat. She ran to the sensor station. On the screen, a tiny blip drifted through the wreckage of the dreadnought. It was almost invisible among the debris. Can we confirm identity? She demanded. The officer worked frantically. Then he looked up, tears in his eyes. It's him. It's Admiral Do-wan. Yuna felt her legs give way. Lieutenant Kang caught her before she hit the ground. Get a rescue shuttle out there, she ordered, her voice breaking. Now. The Valoran fleet, seeing their leader dead and their flagship destroyed, finally broke. Ships fled in all directions, jumping to faster-than-light speed, running from the battle that should have been easy. Humanity had won, and against all odds, Do-wan was alive. The hospital room was quiet, except for the soft beeping of medical machines. Do-wan lay in a white bed, covered in bandages. His body was broken in 17 places. His organs had failed twice during surgery. The doctors said no normal human could have survived what he went through. But Do-wan was not a normal human, and he was still alive. Yuna sat beside his bed. She had not moved in 6 days. She ate little. She slept less. She simply held his hand and watched his face. Waiting for him to open his eyes, nurses came and went. Doctors checked his vitals. Politicians demanded to see the hero of Earth. Yuna sent them all away. Nothing mattered except the man in front of her. On the 7th day, his eyes opened. They were the same brown eyes she had once thought were ordinary. Now she knew they were the most beautiful eyes in the universe. Yuna, he whispered. His voice was weak, barely audible. She squeezed his hand. Tears fell down her face. You're awake. You're finally awake. How long? 7 days. The doctors didn't think you would survive. Your injuries were. She couldn't finish. He tried to sit up and winced. The battle? We won. The Valoran fleet retreated. Taiwan is dead. Your plan worked. He closed his eyes for a moment. And Earth? Safe. Because of you. He nodded slowly. A small smile crossed his broken face. I have something to tell you, Yuna said. She leaned closer to him. When you left for that mission, I said something. Something I had never said before. I remember. His voice was soft. You said you loved me. Did you believe me? I hoped it was true. I hoped I would live long enough to hear you say it again. She leaned down and kissed him gently on the lips. It was their first real kiss, and it tasted like tears and medicine and hope. I love you, she whispered against his mouth. I love you, and I am never going to let you do something so stupid ever again. He laughed, and then groaned in pain from the movement. I make no promises. The weeks that followed were difficult but sweet. Dowan recovered slowly. His enhanced body healed faster than normal, but even it had limits. He spent long hours in therapy, rebuilding strength, relearning movements his damaged muscles had forgotten. Yuna was with him every step of the way. She pushed his wheelchair through hospital gardens. She held his hand during painful treatments. She argued with doctors who said he needed more rest, then turned around and argued with Dowan when he tried to do too much. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. She told him about her childhood in the floating palaces of Ashenvale. He told her about growing up on Earth, in a small town where everyone knew everyone. She explained Valoran poetry and music. He taught her human card games and made her laugh with terrible jokes. Slowly, piece by piece, they became more than husband and wife. They became partners, friends. They became home for each other. 3 months after the battle, Dowan was strong enough to attend the peace conference. Representatives from both species gathered on a neutral station. The new Valoran emperor, Yuna's younger cousin who had opposed the war from the start, came personally to sign the treaty. He was young and idealistic, exactly what both species needed. The treaty was not like the old one. It was not about territory or trade or political marriages. It was about understanding. Both species would share knowledge, culture, and history. Exchange programs would send young people to live among the other species. Universities would open joint campuses. Yuna stood at the signing ceremony as a special ambassador. She represented neither humans nor Valorans. She represented the future, a future where the two species could learn from each other. When she spoke to the crowd, her voice carried across the station. I was raised to believe that humans were inferior, she said. Primitive. Temporary. I married a human because my father commanded it. And I expected nothing but duty. But I was wrong. I watched humans fight with courage that put my own warriors to shame. I watched them sacrifice their lives to protect strangers. I watched them forgive enemies who had tried to destroy them. She paused, looking at Dowan in the front row. No, I watched one man, one quiet, ordinary man, do the impossible because people he loved were in danger. Humans are not inferior. They are not primitive. They are magnificent. And I am proud to call myself one of them. The crowd erupted in applause. Humans cheered. Valorans looked thoughtful. And Dowan smiled. The warm smile that Yuna now knew meant love. After the ceremony, they stood together at a window, looking out at the stars. What now? Yuna asked. I don't know, Dowan admitted. I never planned to survive this long. I never thought past the war. Then let's think together. We have time now. He put his arm around her. I want a quiet life. A house somewhere peaceful. Maybe a garden. That sounds nice. And children. Someday, if you want. She looked up at him sharply. The idea had never occurred to her. Valoran and human DNA was compatible. They had known that for years. But the combination was rare. Children? She repeated. It's just a thought. We don't have to. Yes. He blinked. Yes? Yes. I want children with you. She smiled. I want to raise them together. I want to teach them about both our peoples. I want to watch them grow up in a galaxy at peace. Dowan pulled her close. Then that's what we'll do. 20 years passed. The galaxy changed. Humans and Valorans learned to live together. Old hatreds faded as new generations grew up side by side. Mixed marriages became common. Mixed children became normal. The two species, once enemies, became partners. On a space station above Earth, a graduation ceremony was taking place. Hana stepped up to receive her certificate. She was 20 years old, with her father's dark eyes and her mother's silver hair. She wore the uniform of the Joint Defense Academy, the first school where humans and Valorans trained together. She was the best in her class. Top marks in tactics, history, and combat. She had her father's calm mind and her mother's fierce spirit. And today, she was officially a soldier. In the audience, Dowan watched with quiet pride. He was older now, his hair touched with gray, but his eyes were still sharp. Beside him sat Yuna, as beautiful as ever, wearing a simple dress instead of the royal robes she had once known. She looks nervous, Yuna whispered. She's fine. She has your stubbornness. She won't let nerves stop her. She has your eyes. Dowan smiled. She has your heart. On stage, Hana received her certificate and saluted the admirals. Then she found her parents in the crowd and smiled a big, genuine smile that lit up her whole face. After the ceremony, the three of them walked together through the station's garden. It was a beautiful place, filled with plants from both Earth and Ashen Vale. The air smelled like flowers from two worlds. So, Dowan said, Lieutenant Hana, how does it feel? Terrifying, she admitted. But good. I want to help people. I want to protect them. Like you did. You'll do great things, Yuna said. I know it. Hana looked at her parents. They were holding hands, the way they always did. After all these years, they still looked at each other like newly married couples. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything, Dowan replied. When you first got married, did you know it would work? Did you know you would love each other? Dowan and Yuna exchanged a look. A lifetime of memories passed between them in that glance. No, Yuna said honestly. I thought I would never love him. I thought I would be miserable forever. Then what changed? Yuna squeezed Dowan's hand. I saw who he really was. Not his rank or his species or his past. Just him. The man who watched stars alone because they made him feel small. The man who knew every soldier's name. The man who would die for strangers and come back to life for me. Dowan shook his head. I did nothing special. I simply loved her. Everything else followed from that. Hana smiled. You two are ridiculous. Probably, Dowan agreed. They continued walking through the garden. The stars shone through the transparent ceiling above them. Somewhere out there, fleets of human and Valoran ships patrolled together. Somewhere out there, children of both species played together, learned together, dreamed together. The galaxy was not perfect. There were still problems, still conflicts, still challenges. But it was better than it had been 20 years ago. And it would be better still, in 20 more years, because people like Hana would make it so. That night, Yuna wrote in her personal journal. It was an old habit from her princess days, one she had never given up. I married him for duty, she wrote. I stayed because I witnessed what he could become when everything he loved was threatened. Not a monster. Not a weapon. Just a man with an endless capacity for courage and an even greater capacity for love. They call him a hero now. They tell stories about the Battle of Seoul, about the man who destroyed a dreadnought from the inside. They make him sound like a god, but I know the truth. He is not a god. He is simply human. And that, I have learned, is something far more impressive. 20 years ago, I thought humans were inferior. Now I know better. They are small and short-lived and fragile. They have no great history, No ancient wisdom, no superior technology, but they have something that no other species has. They have fire in their hearts. They fight when fighting is hopeless. They love when love seems impossible. They hope when hope has died. My husband taught me this. My daughter lives it, and I am grateful beyond words that duty brought me to them. I married him for duty. I stayed for love. And I would do it all again. She closed the journal and looked across the room. Do Wan was sleeping in their bed, his chest rising and falling slowly. After all these years, she still loved watching him sleep. She walked over and lay down beside him. He stirred, reached out, and pulled her close without fully waking. "I love you," she whispered into his shoulder. "I love you too," he mumbled, half asleep. The stars spun outside their window. The universe continued its endless dance. And two people, from different worlds, slept peacefully in each other's arms. They had started as strangers forced together by politics. They had become legends, but more than that. They had become home, and that was enough. That was everything.